You to another session of Khoj Gurbani. We skipped last week's session because of Diwali or Bandi Chhod, depending on your preference. We felt that everyone is probably out to the Gurdwaras. So we've had a lapse of a week. And just as a reminder, we are considering bavan akhari, Kabir Ji, which is on page 340 of the Guru Granth Sahib. And so far, we have covered the first 5 steps or sloks. So we got into a discussion the previous time on Turk Tariqat Janiya Hindu Ved Puran Man Samjavan Karne Kachu Ka Padiye Gyan. And we had a rather interesting discussion. We digressed a little. But I think such digressions are needed and welcome. But be that as it may, today what we would like to do is to actually start with the 6th. And I was wondering if somebody... So before we get there, another thing that I should note is that we more or less are trying to figure out, Kabirji's angle here. And I think we are all agreed that at the very outset, what he's saying is that that speech and language and so on has its limitations, and that ultimate reality, or Akal Purukh, if you want to call it that, is really not amenable to any kind of mental system. So one has to actually look for other ways and means and not rely on thought. That said, will somebody offer to read the 6th slok here? No takers? Rana Biji, तुसी करोगे?
Sure, I can do that. Ardas kar liye, I just join it. Ardas kar liye.
Hanji, we just did our ardas. And if you wouldn't mind just kicking off the proceedings by reading out the 6th slok here, Onkar Aad Mein Janna.
Okay, ji. Onkar Aad Mein Jana, likhar mete tahe na mana, Onkar lake jo koi, soi lakh metna na hoy. So this is the 6th one.
Hanji, thank you. Do you want to actually take the lead and walk us through these 2 lines and kind of give us the akhari earth, so to speak, the sort of literal meanings here before we proceed to interpreting it?
Yes, okay, that's much easier for me too.
Hanji.
Onkar Aad Mein Jana. Onkar is of course reference to Akal Purukh. Aad, that what he was in the beginning, whatever the beginning, only very galli. What I knew him at that time, and there's no change in that. That's my understanding. Lik ar mete tahe na mana. But those, all of the things which can be described, written, or anyway described, and who that can perish, they are nothing to me. I do not believe in that authority. I believe only in Onkar, Akal Purukh. Onkar lakhe jo koi, soi lakh metna na hoy. If someone is able to develop some sort of understanding and attachment with that Akal Purukh, that maintains its permanence. And that's how I understand this Pauri.
Thank you, Ji. Eileen, do you want to give us your take on these 2 lines here, Onkar Aad Mein Janna?
Sure. I think that it's making a distinction between believing in something which is primal and permanent, compared to something that is temporary and transitory, so it can be created and destroyed. So I think that it's just Kabirji is just stating um, the contrast and only believing in the one source for Gyan.
So would you sort of think that when he says "lekar meta tahe na mana," is he making a distinction between Oankar and here Oankar meaning the Akal Purukh or the creator? Is there a distinction between the creator who's forever, who is forever versus Lekar Mete seems to suggest to me the cycle of creation and destruction.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, I guess it's on a couple of levels. I think that one is sort of identifying that there is only one creator, which is permanent, and so it's sort of kind of restating that, but also only to believe in that one original source and not derivative created sources of something, maybe belief or inspiration or something else like a knowledge, because that would be just derived from the creator. So kind of go straight to the source and not. I mean, to my mind, just naturally, intuitively, I think of, for example, like a charlatan or a false leader. It makes me think of something which is uh, negative, right? So something that's written and destroyed. There's it's not as pure as Onkar Ad.
So let me ask you this. I mean, just as you were saying this, it occurs to me that in the very first salok, he also suggests that bavan achar log tera sab kuch in hi mein hai, akhar khin jayenge. I think he's talking, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just throwing this idea out there for everyone, but is he again saying that lekhar meta, meaning speech, language, other secondary derivative, as you said, derivative sources of knowledge are really not something that I would attach myself to, but I would go to the source. And in so saying, is he suggesting that there is another mode of knowing other than our mental cognitive processes? Just curious. This thought just crossed my mind.
That's how I'm taking it. I'm not sure how others are taking it, but that's what how it reads to me.
Okay. Do you want to continue with Onkar, Lakhaj or Koi?
Okay.
And I would like you to dwell, if you can. I actually want to zero in on the word Lakhaj and what it means, because it's interesting, the conclusion that he draws. But I'd like to hear you out first.
Well, I haven't done a super deep dive in the word meanings, but overall I took the last two lines to mean, to me, I interpret it as when you observe this true Lord, this Creator, the Onkar Ad, then that is a very permanent relationship. That doesn't go away. It's so in other words, it's a lasting, I guess, a lasting bond. I know that in the English translation there's an element of like it sounds almost like salvation or something from beholding the Creator, but I was thinking of it as the relationship to the Creator is lasting. So that was how I understood it.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks. Gurjeet, are you on? Or are you on your run?
No, yeah, I've reached my destination.
Can you then just like Rana Biji and Eileen have done, just sort of focus on these lines for us for this round of the conversation?
And you have to basically make 5 observations just on this line, because if we understand this better, then we don't need not come and, this is the start. That's why we started this Bani. It's in continuation. Before you know Omkar, you have to be Allah Lahanta. That's the first observation. You can't reach Omkar until you are in a stage of Puran Brahm. Allah Lahanta Ped Chhe. That's the first stage. Your man has to
But
merge
let me just hold you there for a second, if you don't mind. Can you help us understand in very simple terms what is Kabirji saying when he says Oankar Aad Main Jana? What is he saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain.
No, but
It started with Allah. You can't take Allah out of. Once you have left the Allah, you have become Puran Brahm. The next stage is you will reach a stage of Shabad Surtada Mail. So Oankar Aad Main Jana is that my Surat has gone into the Shabad. And Likhar Mete Tahina Manna. The first thing is that Oankar word has been used by Kabirji before Guru Nanak Ji. And Kabirji has got this word from the Veds, which people used to write Oankar on a paper, which you mentioned, I think, before, which is your right observation. Oankar is not a letter to be written on a piece of paper. Likhor Mete is not, as he started, E akhar khir jayenge, O akharin mein na hai. So Oankar is that akhar, that consciousness, the super consciousness, in which my own consciousness has now merged, and I have a bit of a knowledge about him, Aad. And Oankar is the Aad of the Hukum. The whole of this creation has been started by Oankar. If you read about Oankar, word comes 13 times in Gurbani. Kabirji has used it only twice. Oankar sab srishti upai. Srishti starts with the Hukum. So Kabir ultimately wants to tell us, Bhagatji, that he has ultimately reached that stage that he has a connection with the Hukum now. Nanak Hukum hai je bujhe. Oankar Aad Mein Jana is, he has basically solved that riddle. His surat has gone into the
Aad
Shabad.
Mein Jana, if I were to explain this to somebody in very simple terms, is Kabirji asserting here, he's making a declaration or an assertion that...
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm just trying to keep this on sort of a very simple level so that, if we have to talk to someone, how do we explain this? So this is a declaration. Excellent. The way you put it. Oankar Aad Mein Jana. It's almost like saying, Main jaaniya kise du, main samjhe.
Nanak ji kehne Nanak Hukum hai je bujhe. Kabir ji has he has done that action.
Okay, so let's go to the next sentence here. Likh ar mete. What is likh ar mete?
The way we write on Gurbani, so the word Oankar is written in Gurbani how many times? Ik Oankar. He says that letter is not Oankar. Oankar is a consciousness. That is only a symbology for Oankar. People used to worship that letter. He said, don't need to worship that. Need to worship your Allah, and then your Allah goes into Oankar. It is not a thing to be written on a letter and then that get rubbed off later, which he explains in the next 2 lines.
Okay, so this is great, because then now you can say that Kabirji is asserting that I now have, accessed or at least felt or experienced Oankar, and let me tell you that Oankar is not what is written in letters. It is something else.
Yes, Sanji. I think you made this observation before.
Yeah. So Oankar lakhe jo koi. Can you help us understand lakhe jo koi? I understand Oankar lakhe jo koi, but what is lakhe here? Just for our benefit.
The best word I could see is perceive.
Okay.
If someone perceives Oankar.
Okay. Wonderful. Then soi lakh metana na hoi. So what it's saying is that anyone who has this perception or experience of Oankar, that soi is referring to that individual, I guess, luck metana na
ਹਾਂਜੀ
hoi. I mean, if I were to take it, very literally in Punjabi, it might say कि वो मिटदा नहीं बंदा फिर मतलब ये अविनाशी हो जाता है. But I'm
yes
trying to
ਅਬਨਾਸੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ, you're right.
but I'm trying to understand. So
ਨਹੀਂ,
Avinasi, yeah. So if I were
जो
to try,
because ये ओंकार is nothing but gyan. It is the super consciousness. If your surt goes into super consciousness, then he becomes abnasi and he's outside the circle of life and death. Udi buddhi da naas nahi hunda. He doesn't lose his. We are here because our wisdom is not complete. Once you merge with Omkar, you get out of the circle of life and death. Soi lakh metna na hoi.
Hoi.
Whatever
Okay.
whatever you have perceived, the knowledge you have received, it can't be damaged now. You are Puran Brahm.
Okay, thank you, Ji. I
Okay.
think we have a fairly decent idea now of what these lines mean. I reached out to Gagan previously. I don't know if he's still on, but if he is, I'd like to give him an opportunity to weigh in if he wants to.
Viji, I'm on, but I don't have a whole lot to add. I just have a couple of questions if the Sangat can answer them for me, especially Gurjeet Virji. I've been following Gurjeet Virji's explanations for the last few vichars, and I've been also following Sach Khoj Academy's translation of this Bani. And it seems a very fascinating explanation, and like it kind of opens up a lot of answers, especially the difference between Allah and Omkar, the way he's saying that Allah is the Chit or the Ram sitting within us, and then once we are one, once our man is one with the Chit, then we can go finding that Omkar. That like it seems very fascinating, but I can't, from the way this Bani is written, I don't know how we assume that Allah to mean that and Omkar to mean Hukam. That's one question I had. And the second question I had was again an understanding of the word lakha. I understand Virji said, perceive or to get. Like I would like to hear everybody else's understanding of the word lakha. I don't have anything to add.
ठीक है जी. Gurjeet Veer ji, the first question I think is specifically aimed at you, and the second one is broader. We can all weigh in on what we think lakha is. Eileen has already said that she hasn't really done a deep dive on this, so I will tell you before I pass it on to you. Lakha to me is what Veerji said, perception. I think of it as experience. So Anubhav is the way I look at it. Hanji Veerji, Gurjeet Veerji, Gagan da sawal hai about Allah and how you sort of explain that.
Vijay, sorry, we have to. The answer will come from within Gurbani.
Okay.
So when he says, when fifth Panchme Pasha written a Shabad along with this next Shabad with Bhagat Kabir, he says, Naam Hindu na Musalman. That our philosophy doesn't align either with the Hindus or with the Muslims. But we still say Allah Ram ke Pind Paran. The one who is sustainer of my breath within me, either you call him Allah or you call him Ram. We don't really fight over that issue because he is the same entity. So, macro God is what Omkar is, and micro God is what Allah is. I think you will never find much closer sort of shabads in which you will see Allah and Omkar mentioned very close together. He has written two shabads on Allah. Allah lahu. Firstly, lahu means he is trying to find Allah. And then he says Allah lahanta, means he has found Allah. And then purposefully he writes this Pauri after Lalla lahanta means Puran Brahm. Then the Puran Brahm, Satguru ke janme gavar mitaya. Then he goes into the macro consciousness. The micro has to attain its full micro consciousness. Then it goes into the part of macro, but I can send him some shabads, and that's the only way I can help
think
him.
that might be helpful because Otherwise, we will digress into a whole different discussion. And I want to
Hanji.
try and keep our concentration on what is at hand here, which is bavan akhari and these specific lines. We want to try and make sure that killer na jave kam. I mean, I don't want things.
Yeah, yeah.
I only want to
That's
read.
fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Gurjeet Virji, my email address is urbanturbanguy@gmail.com.
You can send it to Coach Gurbani, and I think it can be
I will
faster.
I will send it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
I only want to say
Arvind,
the word. ठीक है जी perceive word ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ meaning ਲਿਖੇ ਆ ਇੱਥੇ it is recognize, distinguish, grasp, understand, identify, comprehend, apprehend. So I think it's close. To me, it's quite close, but you can't get an exact meaning for lakha. Perceive to me appears to be, because it has about 20 different meanings to word perceive.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and my own preference, my own personal preference is not perceive, because perception is still of the senses. My preference is simply experience, which again has many synonyms to it. But I feel like there could be an experience that is not of the senses, that is perhaps mystical. For that reason, I tend to think of lakha as being experience. But I wouldn't quarrel with perception either.
Hanji Virji, can I jump in?
Haji, please, I was going to reach out to anyone who has any further follow-up questions.
Let's make a general comment here after hearing Eileen and Gagan and others. Even my position is I come here by reading a little bit translation, but I think what the beauty of this forum is that it lets our mind percolate, and through inter-dialogue we raise questions even if we are not prepared, and that's the beauty of this one. So as Eileen was talking, and even I said the same thing, when I try to translate the first two lines, Likar mete tayanamana, anybody who can be wiped out perish, I do not believe in that. It raises a question in my mind. The concept of guru is totally wiped out in that case. What Kabir is saying here is that only person is Unkar, that Kalpur Almighty. But anybody who comes and goes is nothing for him. I'm sure Kabirji had a guru. So that raises a question that where does the concept of guru fits in? It came to my mind as Eileen was talking. Of course, when I was talking, it didn't occur. But when Eileen raised a question, and I just paused it for a second. So that's one question which is coming up. And the second,
what's the question specifically?
Question is the second line, which is Likar mete tahanamana. The way I was, whether it's a consciousness or whatever you want to call, my understanding was that Kabir Sahib is saying is Akal Purukh is the one only with whom I wish to connect, and everybody who comes and goes here, this is my understanding, although Gurjeet Virji has given a different understanding, that any person, any individual, any authority, anything, whether it's a consciousness or whatever, which can be destroyed and created, that is of not relevance to him.
Okay.
So in that case, where does the concept of guru fits in? Gurus they come and go.
So, well, I think I'll let the others chime in, but let me just throw this out there. Let me caution you a little. So you're assuming here, in your question, the assumption is that the guru comes and goes. That perhaps is questionable. That is not what is being implied by the guru. Because, the word Abhinashi has been used for the guru as well. And the guru is Shabad. So I think we need to get clarification around that. That said, I will throw this open to anyone who wants to chime in and answer. Does anyone want to take this?
To add to Virji's question, if Guru is Shabad and is Avinashi, then what or who was Kabirji's Guru? And then, I can throw in my 2 cents, and I'm assuming there are two sides to that
So why
guru,
is it so important for us to know who Kabir's guru was
because then
in the
that
context
way,
of this? In the
as a
context of these two lines that we are
yeah,
looking at, he's
because
talking directly.
the reason why it is important for me is because, especially given that the meaning that we are following right now is that, I've built a relationship with the Ram inside me, and then now I found Omkar, that is, the macro god, as Gurjeet Virji is saying. This seems like a kind of a vidhi or a technique that you would learn or understand from somebody else. And that's where my question comes up, like, did Kabirji just fall upon this on himself, just through introspection, or did he learn it from somebody else, or did he learn it from knowledge that was already there in books and Vedas and whatever? And that's why, and it's a very engineering kind of mindset question, because I want to put it into a formula that, the same formula that works for Kabirji should work for me. I don't want to have a different formula.
There may be
That's the
no
only.
formulas.
The,
There may be
the,
no formulas. But anyway, that said,
I can maybe,
I'm going to open. I'm going to. हाँ जी, कौन बोलने लगा सी?
um,
Eileen,
Eileen, I think.
do you want to?
I might have something to contribute just because maybe,
Okay, please go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean, because my experience, is a little bit, new. So when I experienced, reading Bani and contemplating Bani, and it became, more than words on the page for me in my experience. I think that connection and that process is a spiritual connection, or maybe a consciousness raising. I could describe it as, and I think it's something that's different. At least it was for me, than any other reading that I've experienced. So I think it's conceivable to say that, well, there's words on a page, perhaps, or there's perhaps, in the Guru's time, there were actual living, human, spiritually enlightened gurus that were pointing something out, right? So these are like the indicators, and it's only when you internalize the Bani and you really absorb it, and let it connect to the mool, that you maybe begin to think of it differently than just, it becomes different than just the words on the page, right? Because now it's taken on a different internal connection. It's not the transitory words on a page, or a person you're following. Those things just point you to the Creator.
I couldn't agree with you more, Eileen.
It is.
I'm going to I'm going to reach out to Gurjeet Singh Virji, but before I do that, I just want to chime in and share some of my own experience. Like you, Eileen, I mean, for me, these have been more than words on a page. I mean, these are markers and pointers to something a lot deeper. And the essential thing is honest engagement is what I have found to be the prerequisite, is an honest engagement. And one of the things that I have found in my experience, at least, has been that there seems to be this very strong desire on the part of a lot of us to actually think of the Guru in terms of a human being, and that we crave a great deal to have someone, with ready, something that we can call a Guru. Whereas I am beginning to feel that when I engage with Bani, there is a mystical presence that I call the Guru. There is a process, as you said. And so there isn't any necessity to go looking or trying to understand. And not only that, but in this very forum, as we are discussing this, to my mind, the Guru is already present. And the Guru is present mystically again in this particular presence. So we are learning from each other and together. That again is the Guru. And so, like you, I think it is really a receptivity. Haji, but I don't want to consume too much time.
Yes,
Gurjeet Singh Virji, do you have any thoughts?
Hanji Virji, Hanji, it's a very historical question and can be answered from within Kabir Ji's Bani itself. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੋ ਸ਼ਬਦ I'll just give you, I think it should be easy to understand. Kabir ji says, Kabir sacha Satgur kya kare ja sikha mein chook. He never used the word guru. Guru he uses for Pandit. He says, Pandit guru hai jagat ka. Kabir, Brahman guru hai jagat ka.
इसका
Bhagatan ka gur na hai. But Bhagats haven't accepted you even as a guru. Both these words are different there. Pandit thinks that he is the guru, but he says we don't even accept, because guru is ajuni. In Gurbani, the word guru is for that superconscious who doesn't come into June. So Kabir has learned things from, he says, Kabir, Surg Narakate main rahe ho Sadgur ke prasad.
yes.
I don't accept the Surg and Nark as explained by Hindus and Muslims, because they have never ever attained that stage which Kabir ji has obtained, but where has he got all this knowledge from? Ram japo ji aise aise Truparla jape har jaise is Kabir ji's shabad. There he clearly mentions that it's not only me, but there are previous Bhagats who has obtained this. And then he says, Pehle darshan Maghar payo, that I have to leave this Kashi, go to Maghar, obtain the knowledge from there, and then he comes and explains this knowledge to Ramanandji. And Ramanandji particularly says a line, he says, So Brahma batayo gur man hi mahe. Every word is important. When Kabirji comes back and he explains it to Ramanandji, Ramanandji's Shabad is after Kabirji in Basant Rag. So it means Kabirji obtained the knowledge first and then Ramanandji. And Ramanand has clearly explained, I haven't not researched, Kabir has, but he has told me, but I accepted it as we are doing it. So this is a clear history that we have to obtain this knowledge through Satgur. Gurbani is all Satgur Prasad. At that time they were there to speak and tell, but then he says, Deha bolta acha rava. The whole problem is that we have to solve the abol part. The abol part is everyone's personal, experience, wisdom, how much you put effort. Bol is easy to understand. We are all understanding the bol. The abol is, so Kabir says he has a Satgur inside him, which told him that you must go and meet one with Allah, your own mool. And then this Allah further, Puran Brahm has met to Oankar. There is one, I'll read a pankti about Oankar. It's by Mahalla Panjama. Oankar ek tuni. So he clearly clarifies. If you read bavan akhari of Panjame Pasha, he has gone a step backwards. Then Kabir ji, he says, Om Gurmukhi Kiyo Akara. That Oankar has born out of Om. That's what we have been told. So Ramkali Mahalla Panjama, Oankar ek tuni. Oankar Shabad hai, which is not heard by us but only by Bhagats. Tuni ek hai. But it's coming from a source where there are plural people. Ek hai. They all have got a unity within them. Ek hai raga lappe. They don't talk about anything else. Purely Brahmgyan. Eka, they see they all live in one country. Ek dikhave, they help us to show oneness in us. Eko reha bhyape. If someone can see, then he can tell others. So Kabir ji has to go to a Satgur, which was the Vedic literature from where he is mentioning Ram Japoji aise. And then from there, he further comes, obtains this which he tells here, that I have formed a connection with Oankar. Then he tells to Bhagat Ramanand, and Ramanand also experiences the same thing, and he says in the end, Ramanand Swami Ramat Brahm. Ramanand has become his own boss now. His consciousness has gone into Brahm. So this is what I have to add.
Hanji, thank you very much for that clarification. And
I
think
have a few questions on that one, please.
Hanji, just give us a second here. Let me just sum this up as best as I can. So I think what is being, to your original question, Ranavirji, I think it is very critical to understand that Satgur is not a person, as even Gurjeet Singh Bedi is saying. It's Avinashi, and Oankar is that primal sound. And he also mentioned a very important aspect, which was the bol and the abol, the spoken and the unspoken. And we really have to resolve the unspoken. And the unspoken can only be resolved by your engagement with Sachi Bani. Okay, Virji, correct me if I'm misinterpreting what you just said for the benefit of everybody else. So I think this has to be borne in mind. A similar question has been raised about Guru Nanak. Who was his guru? In fact, the yogis asked him that question, to which he responded, Sabad Guru, Surtun Chela. So, Hanji, you had questions, Rana Virji.
Hanji, I just very very receptive to what we just discussed. I'm just throwing these things out for my own clarification. It's not that I'm challenging somebody, but just throwing.
No. Understood.
Yeah. Gurbani, if we take ourselves 400 years back, when we didn't have the scripture here, because we have the scripture there, and Guru Sahib has told us this Shabad Guru is our Guru, which is of course immortal, and we don't have to look for anybody else. But if I were or you were at that time, who was the Guru at the time? Was these our Gurus which we had, from where we were getting all the knowledge, who were playing an intermediate role before we could have connected to Onkar or Kalpurk? Were not they there at the time, and which were perishable because they were Naashans, they were mortals? And then I was posing that question in that context. Yes, now we have Gurbani and we are saying that, okay, because that's our Guru. Kalgita Pasha said that this is our Guru. Fair enough. But in the absence of that, people at that time were given, they had the same.
So what you're asking basically is, what when this Gurbani wasn't around in the form that we know it?
And we relied on Gurus.
Right. So you're basically saying, so go back 500 years and you don't have this particular Bani that we are looking at. What then, right?
Yes, and that then comes back to
so who was the Guru then? So
not the Guru. Okay, you can say the Guru. Yeah, okay.
Right. I mean, I think that's your drift.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a take on that, but I'll hold myself. Does somebody want to, Eileen, do you want to respond? I haven't given you a chance to respond or talk. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, I think for me, it's very much like that distinction between the abol and the bol. So I think it's it's the same relationship. It's just is it a person who's presenting the revelation or the path or the like the instruction manual?
Mm-hmm.
So like Guru Gobind Singh would be like the guide or the instructor, and then Akal Purakh is the focus, right? So it's just sort of like, oh, here's how to relate, or here's how to access, and it's the same instruction. That's how I take it in Bani as would be coming from Guru Gobind Singh, for example.
Okay. Gagan, do you want to give us your thoughts on this?
No, I have nothing to add today. Sorry, I'm learning only today.
And we are all learning, so that doesn't preclude me from talking.
No. I'm actually outside. My son's sick, so I'm taking him to the doctor. So I'm just.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Anji, Gurjeet Singh Virji, do you want to comment on that, and then we can go around? So, Guru ni san, odo Guru kaun si? Gurbani ki si pehlon?
Gurbani ta hamesha hi rahi hai ji. Gurbani was always there, because how Kabir ji found it. But the Pandit was giving an instruction that if someone goes to Maghar, he will go to hell. I think he knew that there are some granths over there which contains the knowledge, which are different to what he has written. And this is all history is very well reported. But when you read Dasam Pasha, he says, "Jo humko Parmeshwar uchar hain." Be very careful. Don't call him a guru. That's why it's known as Pothi Parmeshwar ka Than. It's not Parmeshwar. Parmeshwar is a Juni. He's particularly very clear on his thought process. But because we have been using the dictionary from Shastri Mat, they think Guru can come in a life. But let me be very clear. In Gurmat, we never accept a Guru can come in a Juni. This is the only difference. Gur can come in a Juni. Nanak is a Gur. You read whole Patan de Savaiye. They always write Gur about Nanak. So
you may want to, you may want to help explain the difference between Gur and
yeah,
Guru.
I told you, Gur is in Juni. Gur is the one who is a connection, who is a bachola here between that Ajuni Sachkhand and between us.
Yeah.
He's a
so for everybody else's benefit, then would you have Gurs today? I think that is what Rana Viji is particularly going to.
Gurbani is our Gur today.
No,
we
but
have
do you have
35
Gur?
Gurs.
Do you have a Gur today? Is a Gur available today?
Means only in the form of Shabad. Secondly, we don't call it a Shabad Guru, it's a Akhar Guru because it's clearly written, "E Akhar khir jayenge." So this is a Akhar Guru
so
for us.
Are we then basically saying that there is no possibility of a Guru in the shape of Guru Nanak today? And if so, why not?
Not that.
If so, why not?
He
are
has
we saying,
always.
Are we saying then that nobody today can be enlightened in the same way?
They can be. The whole purpose of writing Gurbani was just to enlighten people. There will be few, but you have to find. They say, "Hain virle,
nahi gane."
There are few people. They will be there.
But so Virji, Rana Virji, is this the drift of what you're trying to ask, or am I misrepresenting it?
No, you represented, but I didn't get what I was trying to look at. Now we introduced new terms here, Guru and Guru.
They're existing terms.
Yeah, existing, but I think the way we are using it, okay, Guru, you are saying something immortal. Is it anything mortal is Guru? Guru? And Guru is something immortal? This is what Gurjeet Ji was trying to say?
I think that's the distinction he's making.
Yeah, but the answer from Gurjeet Virji was a little dissatisfying because it kind of implied that Gurs could only have existed in the time of Guru Nanak and can't exist now. If we go by the definition that Gur is in a bodily form and Guru is Shabad and beyond.
Okay. I mean,
no, I didn't say that. We said that there will be existing few hand kane या जग में उत्तम काढ़ी है विरले के विरले ता हैं कोट मध्य को बिरला सेवक होर सवे व्यवहारी. He says one कोट मध्य means out of 10 million there will be one odd. That's the name. ना कोटन में नानक को. He mentions this statistically if you want to. They are bhagats. So once you obtain that gyan, it depends on Parmeshwar whether he wants to give you that strength to add the Bani. Like 6th, 7th and 8th Mahalla had no Bani. But still, we say we have 10 Gurs.
So why don't we call them Bhagats?
Yeah, you call them Bhagat. Kotan likhya hoya. Gur Arjan Kar Gur Ramdas Bhagat utar aayo. He has clarified the part, says they are Bhagats. It's
so
only a distinction.
Is that making sense to you?
Guru, so I'm just going back to that. We are saying that there might be few Guru right now. Is that correct? This is how you understand?
No, ji, there will be few Gurs. There will be few Gurs or Bhagats. No Guru comes in Juni. Guru doesn't take the form like Vishnu, as they say.
So the
Our Guru
confusion.
is not a Vishnu who comes and take a human form. Our Guru take the form. Guru is a part of Guru, but you can't call one person as Guru because Guru is a plural word, basically. That's why Nanak will always be Guru. Sachkhand, the whole Sachkhand is Guru.
Then in Bani, the last of Guru has Soi, Shabad Padho, na? If you read the Shabad,
No,
and which
there are 302 Shabads of Guru and I have read all. There is no confusion there. Guru is referred to mostly Sachkhand, but there are few places Guru Jina ke andale. There are places like that where they have used that people think that my Guru is in the journey. They are basically blind. Guru never comes in a journey.
No. I'm talking the words which has a noun attached to Guru Angat, Guru Ramdas, Rovar Nate.
No. Ramdas Rovar Nate.
Okay, no, fine. I just said it, but I think there are certain words where the noun is attached to that. That's my general impression, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, means this is how our interpretation is we put a wrong comma at wrong place. The word is to Param Guru Nanak Jas Gayo. What we have done is we have made Param one, Guru Nanak, we have made it. But the word actually there is to Param Guru, you have to stop at Guru, Param Guru, Nanak Jas Gayo. Nanak ta Jas ga reha Guru ta. Nanak is not Guru. Nanak says, Tan Tan Guru, Nanak Jan Kera. Nanak is your servant. Sachkhand the servant Nanak. Sare Bhagat, they are the servants. They are speaking. That's why they say, na, कि हम आपको बोलना जानदा. Why he says that? I am in the hukam. Whatever I am telling is in the hukam. That's what Guru Nanak has hundreds of places mentioned. I am Das. मैं हूँ परम पुरुष को दासा. Param Purukh is Guru. When you read the some, and Dasa is he himself.
So Veerji, so Paramjit Singh, Veerji, I concur with what Gurjeet Singh Veerji is saying largely. I think some things are beyond any doubt that in Gurmat, the Guru is not a person. Absolutely, there shouldn't be any doubt about that. You can read Bani, and if you try and understand it, you'll get that impression that it is not referring to a person. And to just what Veerji referred to just now, Nanak is always referring to himself as a Das or just Gayo. So I think there shouldn't be any doubt in one's mind. Now, the confusion stems from the fact that we loosely use the word Guru Nanak, and I think the association in our minds is such. So that's one thing. I also want to bring to your attention, and this is something that we can all kind of chew on, is that there is a Shabad by Guru Amar Das, which I can't remember offhand, but he is talking about the methodology of a particular time and space. He's talking about different methods that were used in different periods. And now in this particular age, Shabad, Naam is the methodology. So I think you also have to keep that in mind, on how people were approaching these spiritual questions, because we are all evolving and our concept of Akal Purukh is also evolving as we go along. I mean, you and I are thinking about Akal Purukh very differently from someone 500 years ago. So I just wanted to make that observation.
Yes, I just want to add something to that. I totally agree with you. We don't have any other Guru. Guru is Gurbani for us. And now I go back and look at that. Well, that is what was that was some type of command given to us. This is your Guru at that time. So I agree with you. There's no other Guru. This is the only Guru. When I go back beyond that time, and that is when I try to figure out that there has been always Bani out there, or because everybody was not Kabir at that time. They couldn't dig out Bani from all of the places, so it was totally useless exercise for everybody because there was nothing available.
No, I think Gurjeet Singh Veerji made that very clear, that there was always Gurbani around. Always. Gurbani has been around all the time. What we are referring to Gurbani is specific to our experience. Gurjeet Singh Veerji, did I interpret you correctly?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਹਰ ਜੁਗ ਜੁਗ
ਹਰ
ਭਗਤ
ਜੁਗ
ਪਾਇਆ
ਜੁਗ ਭਗਤ ਉਪਾਇਆ ਪੈਜ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ
ਹਾਂ ਰਾਮ ਰਾਜ ਭਗਤ हैज टू हर हर सिमरन लग वेद उपाय they have to write something. It was known as Ved Bani. So Ved means Gurbani, Ved means Gyan. So it was always available when since that written stuff. Before that it was verbal. It was verbally, explained from one to the other.
So I think I lost my train of thought here, but the fact is that the way I understand this, and perhaps this might help you a little or clarify things, is I always think of guru as knowledge, and this knowledge exists at multiple levels. It also exists at the level of words that we are reading, but it is ultimately Akal Purukh itself. That is guru, the knowledge. And I think when we talk about the guru in Gurbani, we are referring to that particular knowledge. And so I try to always think of guru in terms of knowledge, gyan, and how it can sort of shed light for me and enlighten me. And I think that knowledge has always been around.
Hanji, you're exactly right. Guru is nothing but knowledge for us. We say Bani Guru. The guru which we say is nothing but that Bani which I mentioned before, Oankar ek to nahi, but it's only perceived by Bhagats. It's not been perceived by us. We do experience some things every day, but that total perceive whatever they say, because until your mind, man samjhavan karne, the Bhagats have completely,
Good evening. I just want to stop here just because what you just said right now is now you're bringing in the concept of Bhagat. How to become a Bhagat to get to that, to access the Bani. So there has to be an avenue. I totally believe Bani. I believe this has to be Guru. I'm not saying that Guru, I'm going out and in the evening I go somewhere. Guru is the good Bani for me. I just want to make it very clear. Now you said the Bhagat has already access. How come you and me are not Bhagat? What was avenue to become Bhagat? Before you could have access Turki Bani Ai, Guru Nanak Sahib is saying that, oh no, Bani Andi, why it doesn't come to me? Because I'm not a Bhagat. So there must be avenue to become a Bhagat.
Of course there is.
And
I mean, that's
that,
the whole,
we have to be
that's the whole
Puran
point.
Yes.
That is the whole point of being here. So that we can help each other. That was a good one.
We are Bhagats, but our percentage is low. Ji. We are all Bhagats, but we are not 100%. We are, someone is 0.5%, someone is 1/4%.
So we are trying to get to the next step by coming together in Sangat. That's the whole point. So no, that was great. That was something we needed really. But okay, so now we have about 5 minutes, and I'm going to give everybody a last round chance to make any observations they want. And I'll start with Eileen. Eileen, last round here. How are you feeling about all this?
Yeah, it's a great discussion. It's just sparking a lot of ideas for me. One of the things that came to mind, just in talking about the difference between the guru and the guru, and just the path that we're on. Sometimes I get asked or I get into these discussions of kind of why am I here as opposed to any other religion, like as though maybe some people go shopping for religions or something and they go and pick one or something like that. And I think it's interesting to think about this. The Gurbani has been around forever, and maybe also that same that the Sachkhand is available to people through different ways, through different they have different paths to get that experience or to get that lakhe. And maybe that's helpful to think about. It's kirpa, and then it's also for whatever reason, whatever that path is, that allows you to make more connections, and maybe it's not it's not, at least it's not clear to me why something works for one person and doesn't work for another person, or they don't have the same path, but they still have the same, but the same Gurbani is available, or the same Akal Purakh is there. So that's just something that came to my mind.
Thank you indeed. Haji Ranaveer ji, last round.
No, thank you very much. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It percolates on mind, and that's why we are here. Thank you very much.
Haji Gagan ji.
Vijay, I just wanted to thank you for very careful moderation. I really appreciate your thoughtful moderation. That helped me learn a lot. And the only last point I wanted to make was this although it's still unclear for me, but this has started wiping off some layers of confusion from Gur, Satgur. The full understanding that most of the time when we are saying Gur in Bani, it is, for us, it's referring to Shabad, and if it is in kind of like Patane Savaiye, it is referring to the Guru Vyakti or Guru Vyakti, and hopefully with more of these sessions, this will become clearer. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you. Haji Gurjeet Singh Veer ji, last round.
हाँ जी वीर जी, बड़ी अच्छी इन्होंने गल कही है that परम के पर्दे सतगुरु खोले. We have got layers of params in us. So Gurbani starts from the top, and then second, then third, then fourth, and ultimately that pal which you say, na, kuda tutte pal, they are all param ke parde. The way we are going slowly, by the end, we should be able to perceive, whatever knowledge we have now, we should be able to. This is how how I think it works. It's not an overnight process. It takes time, and the more time we devote, like we did it today, more such discussions will certainly remove our param, and we'll get closer to the reality. And thank you for moderating. Nice.
Hanji, thank you, Viji, and thank you for your insights into Gurbani. So next week we will start with the next sulok, which is Kakka. Kiran Kamal Mehpava. So I just want to, I find this to be a very interesting sulok. So may I ask that all of you sort of spend some time thinking about, what is the Kiran referring to here? What is the Kamal? Kiran and Kamal, Sas, all of these words are loaded with meaning. So it would be a good discussion, I think. We need to really dwell on the meaning, the symbolism of these words, especially. So with that said, I do thank you all for coming on and sharing your thoughts and insights. Believe me, I consider myself to be the one to profit the most, because I get to hear all of you, and I feel like I'm really blessed to be in your company. Thank you very much. Te Fateh Parwan Karne ji. Waheguru ji ka Khalsa.
Waheguru ji ki Fateh.